Hello guys, welcome back to a brand new video. I hope all of you are keeping well. Now, today's discussion, we're going to dabble into the topic of mental health. I feel it's something that a lot of, if not the majority of people, either suffer with or have suffered with at some point in their lives. And I'm 24 years of age, and I think especially in the time that we're living in now and the world that we live in now, I think people from probably my age to probably people in their teens especially, but it can affect people of all ages. But I think it's good to have a discussion about mental health for young people, and just ways that it affects us and ways that we can kind of manage it and to kind of help us to deal with it a little bit better. So for those of you who have watched me or this channel know that I've had my struggles with mental health over the years. I made a video on it back in 2019, I think it was, when I first kind of had my difficulties with it, and I've suffered with it since. I went through a really bad period last year, for the whole of last year really, and there's so many other people in that kind of situation too, and just to kind of understand where that comes from, especially at a young age, because when I first started having my difficulties with it, I was 19, 20, and it was all kind of new for me. I didn't really know how to explain it or kind of where it came from. But the older I've gotten, and the more experiences that I have had with it, which is obviously not a good thing, but fortunately, I'm one of many people that do suffer with it, and some people still can't explain it, or don't know how to deal with it properly, or feel that it's weakness, or feel that they can't talk about it because there is still such a stigma around it. There's a kind of inability or a kind of avoidance of not only people who struggle with it to talk about it, but also people who don't struggle with it to talk about it as well, because it's a very sensitive subject for a lot of people. A lot of people see it as, I'd say mainly those who don't suffer with it, see it as a weakness, or you're just, you need to just, cop on and just get on with it. We all kind of, I use air quotes for that, like we all struggle and we all have bad days, but it's not as simple as that. And, it's for the people who do struggle with it, and, people who have similar experience, like not all, experiences are similar, but, the kind of manifestation of depression or anxiety or, any kind of symptoms of it can be relatable. And it's good to have people within your support network who can have a level of understanding, or even just a level of empathy with it. I'm not saying to surround yourself with, you can only talk to people who suffer with it, because, it isn't the case. There are people who, can be empathetic towards it and can, do their best to help in the best way that they can. It might not, help ultimately at the end of the day. We've all had experience of that, where someone is trying their best to help and understand, but for you personally, it might not feel that way. If anything, it might actually make you feel worse. So it's a tricky one to navigate. But just talking about me personally, in terms of things that I've tried to do to manage my struggles and my anxiety and negative thoughts that I have in my life, is to, well, one, I like to write down my thoughts and my feelings. It's a good way to kind of transfer those feelings internally to externally. It's almost like physically taking the thoughts from your mind and your body and putting it onto like a piece of paper. It's almost like transferring it out in a kind of subconscious way. I find that very helpful. And then when you actually sit there and read it, it can be kind of very, I wouldn't say refreshing is the right word, but it can be very kind of a bit of an eye-opener as well, because it's almost like reading it from an outsider's perspective. Outsider in the sense of you're reading it from a different perspective, rather than it just being in your head and clouding judgment all the time. So that's one thing I find incredibly helpful. And then another one, and I think this is, the most important one, and I think a lot of people will feel the same way too, is exercise. And even if it's not exercise, just fresh air, getting out, whether it be first thing you do in the morning, if you get up and go for a walk, or go and get a coffee, or just anything like that. you don't know how helpful that is, because I've had many times where I've not wanted to get out of bed, don't want to leave the room, not taking care of myself, not showering, anything like that. There's so many people who've probably had those experiences too. And even just a 10-15 minute walk, first thing in the morning or just before you go to sleep, can be a massive, massive help. Because being kind of cooped up in a room or in the same space for so long will only exacerbate those thoughts. You'll just spend the entire time letting everything that's going on in your mind just fester and become worse, because overthinking is the biggest killer. It's one of the things that makes depression and anxiety 100 times worse than it already is. Excuse me. So I find that incredibly helpful. And I just think spending time with people that are close to you, as I mentioned earlier in the video, sometimes it can feel like people close to you, whether it be family, friends, a partner, whatever it may be, they are trying to help, because they might not understand it as much as you do. No one can relate to, a personal experience. But sometimes just having those types of people around can be a great distraction. It's a good way to kind of surround yourself with a bit of positivity and that kind of escape from being alone, whether it be physically or mentally in your own thoughts. So just surrounding yourself with people in your life that want the best for you and have your best intentions at heart and can help you see the good side of life, because when you're in that headspace, it's incredibly difficult to see anything other than dark clouds, grey skies, all that kind of stuff. So that was a big help for me. It is a challenge to get out of that, because certainly, when I've been feeling at my lowest, I want my own company. I just want to be left alone. I isolate myself. And in the long run, it's not going to help you. It's good. It feels good in the moment, because it's kind of giving you that kind of leverage to just do whatever you want. But when you're in the headspace, everything that you want just contributes to it. So surrounding yourself with people that love you and that you love, it makes the world a difference. The difference is night and day. And then another big thing, it's kind of obvious too, but speaking to like a trained professional, like a therapist or a counselor, or anything of the sort, because and it ties back into the point that I was mentioning about, speaking to family and friends is great. It's a good kind of medium to have, but ultimately, your own personal experience will never be understood by just the people you see in your day-to-day life, and trained professionals are the best equipped to help you, in the long run, and even in the short term as well. These people have a vast understanding, excuse me, of what mental health difficulties are like, what causes anxiety, what where your depression is coming from. It's a big thing, to have that. And a lot of people have had bad experiences with therapists and counsellors. I have, but I've also had good experiences with counsellors, and I'm seeing one at the moment, and it's been great for me. It's really, really helped. And sometimes, seeing a therapist or a counsellor isn't a kind of, a one shot, and if it doesn't work, then that's the end of it. A lot of people, might have that thought process, and that's fine. That's perfectly understandable. It's a scary thing to do, because it's incredibly hard to open up and to really, go into an in-depth discussion about your struggles and what's, affecting you the most, because like I said at the start of the video, it can make you feel like you're weak or there's something wrong with you or anything like that. So it's very important to have that person, a therapist or a counsellor, who won't judge you, because like with family and friends, it can be quite easy, for them to judge and, think that they have all the right answers. I know it comes from a good place, but it isn't the same as speaking to a therapist or a counsellor, and that's not like to judge the family and friends or a partner and say that what they're doing is wrong. But the therapist or counsellor or whoever, are trained professionals, and it's their job, and they have the best understanding of anybody. So I would encourage anyone to at least give it a try. You know, it's not for everybody, but it's certainly something that is worth a go, because I had to get through, you know, an experience with the like that didn't work for me, and I was scared to go back for a little while, and then I went back at the end of last year, end of 2023, and since then it's been one of the best things that's happened to me. It's helped me immensely, so that's another thing. And then the most important thing I think in all of it is to be easy on ourselves, is to try not to be too hard on ourselves, because we're our own worst enemies. You know, that our mind will naturally deviate towards the negative, whether it be an external situation or something that's happened, you know, within our lives, but that's out of our control. We almost try to bring it into our control, because we as humans have this flawed idea that we are always in control, when in reality we're not. And I feel like that only adds to all those negative feelings and that kind of weight on our shoulders that we have of having to deal with depression. Because depression and anxiety it's heavy enough as it is, and it's different for everyone, but the weight is still as heavy on the other person's shoulders as it would be on yours, just in a different guise. So just being kind to ourselves, loving ourselves, because, you know, if you don't love yourself, you'll never be able to love anybody else, truly. I've believed that for a long while, and I've gone through experiences where I haven't loved myself, and it's been very hard for me to love other people. And it really does teach you a lot about how self-care, self-love, and just even self-respect as well can go a long way in helping you kind of see the value within yourself. Because low self-esteem is something that I've suffered with for a long time, and I think our age, or like certainly like 24, 25 up until I'll say like 15 to 25, I'll just use that age kind of bracket just as a kind of, you know, for argument's sake, with social media and how the world is perceived in that kind of sense. And it's given us a kind of flawed concept of what life and what the world around us is actually like, and real life experiences. So yeah, that's an interesting discussion to have. I do like having these discussions. They're very real, not only for me but for a lot of other people. So you will be seeing a lot more of this or these kind of discussions on the channel. But yeah, that will be all for today, guys. I hope you did enjoy the video. If you have any kind of thoughts or opinions on this subject, please leave them down below or on my socials. Always happy to talk about this kind of stuff. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you're new around here, please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to be made aware of when I do upload new videos. The Monday, Thursday schedule is what I'm trying to stick to. Obviously today is Thursday, so that one's fine. There just might be some days where I can't upload a video for, you know, certain circumstances, but, you know, I'll do my best to I always try and do 2 videos a week. So that will be the kind of the plan, and, you know, the kind of schedule for, you know, for the foreseeable. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you for the next video. Take care.